All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on pillar number 8 now, and the truth is I've had a really hard time outlining this pillar, and I think it's because there's just hours and hours of content I could make, really boring content, about why systems are important and how to build your own systems, and I don't want to do that to you, and I especially don't want to do that inside this series. I've tried to keep this series more short and sweet and to the point, and I want you to understand as much of the why behind these pillars as the how in terms of how to achieve them. So if you'll bear with me, what I want to do on this one is I want to just mostly wing it. I do have an outline over here. You probably keep seeing me looking over at it. I do have an outline, but it's a very, very vague, very general outline. I want to try to just tell you a story, and hopefully the story helps impart upon you the importance of having systems, as well as how to develop your own. So I'm going to go back all the way to the beginning, about 4.5 years ago when I started this business. I want to be very honest and upfront. I did not start this business as a professional. I started this business as a guy who hated his job, like most of us do. I was a guy who hated his job, and also like most of us, I was kind of winging it. All I really knew was I knew how to work with my hands, and I was sick of working to achieve somebody else's dream, and I wanted to build my own business. So I was winging it, I was making it by, and then my wife got pregnant with identical twins, and that really kicked me into high gear, but it got me really thinking about the fact that, where I was at that time, I had in fact replaced my paycheck, which was amazing, but I wanted more than replacing my paycheck, and my family deserved more than just replacing my paycheck, because where I found myself was, even though my paycheck was in fact replaced, all I needed to do was get sick and miss work for a week, and we were screwed. I mean, that's a mortgage payment right there. Just getting sick for a week, or God forbid, getting really sick and having to take a couple weeks off for like a back injury or something, that's a missed mortgage payment. That could easily mean me having to shut down the business and go back to work for my old employer. And I started realizing I needed to do something with this business that was actually going to make my family and our future secure. So two things really needed to happen. Number one, I needed to make more money. And I needed to make more money so I could have a nest egg, and at least the nest egg could get me through temporary illnesses and injuries. That's the first thing. And then number two, though, as soon as I get that accomplished, the next step is going to be clearly to start creating some systems in place where I can plug other people into those systems and actually scale this business and ultimately turn it into a business that I can step away from. Because if I don't do that, if the business still requires me every single day making all the decisions, making all the calls, talking to all the clients, doing all the estimates, if I have to be involved day in and day out, then I haven't really built a business, I've just built a job. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through my actual systems for my actual business and compare them to where I was or where I would be if I didn't have those systems in place, all right? So to do this, we're going to take just a very generic job. You can see I've got my door kit in front of me here. We're going to take a very generic door job, and we're just going to walk through the flow of this job with a system and without a system so that you can see the difference. So I've got my clients, I've got my property managers, they're sending me work, and a job comes in, something wrong with the door. Let's say that's exactly what it says too, man. They don't even have any details. The work order says something wrong with the door. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do with the system, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go put this job into Jobber. Now, without the system, I don't know what I do. I put it on a spreadsheet, I put it on a Word document, maybe I write it down in my binder, I take a mental note of it, I send myself a text message. No, I'm going to put it in Jobber. I have a professional CRM. It's there for a reason. It serves 1,000 purposes in my business, and I'm going to take that job and I'm going to put it directly into Jobber. So that's the first system that I have in place, is a professional CRM that actually manages and tracks and helps me with the workflow of all my jobs from beginning to end. And then step number two, now that I've got it in Jobber, is I need to schedule this job. So when I go to schedule this job, let's say I don't have a system. Scheduling this job without a system probably means just calling up the tenant and asking them what their availability is, and then writing it down on my calendar and hope I don't forget. Or, alternately, with a system. My system is every single job gets scheduled via text message. And not only is it via text message so that I have a record of everything that I've said to all of these clients and everything that they've said to me, but I also have a template. And that template itself, that's also a system. Having a template, and this template solves so many problems. And by the way, you can download the template for free at bulletproofhandyman.com, or you can go to the description of this video, scroll all the way down to the bottom. There is a button for all my free documents. I do not have any paywalls. You can click on that link and you can register and you can get all my free documents, including that template. But that template encourages the tenants to schedule, number one, when I need to schedule, not when they would like to schedule. And number two, it makes sure that there's an adult over the age of 18 home. Number three, it makes sure they're aware that I use arrival windows and that is in fact a window for my arrival. It makes them aware of how long I anticipate the job to take. It makes them aware of everything. It is a system that I've put in place that solves multiple problems that I found in the past that I developed that system for. So I've put the job in Jobber, and I've used a system to do the scheduling. So now the next step is I need to actually go to the job to do the job. So first of all, what do I need to take with me when I go to the job? Without a system, the answer would be everything, most stuff, I don't know, nothing. Do I have everything I need for it? I have no idea. Or with the system, let me tell you how my system works for going and doing these jobs. So first of all, I have my handyman van, which in this case is actually a Trailblazer, but I've got a handyman van. And inside that handyman van is a set of tools, and it's not a random set of tools. It's a curated set of tools. It's a system of tools that I have come up with because I've been doing this 4.5 years and because I paid attention on every single job. What tools did I use? What tools did I not use? I also figured out what tools can stand in for other tools so that I don't have to have every tool under the sun. So I've got a limited set of tools that always stays in that van, never comes out, goes on every single job. And then I also have some other tools, like some of what you see behind me here, that I can grab if and when I know I'm going to need it, but I don't need it 9 out of 10 days. And the tools that I don't keep in the van, those are tools that are going to be very obvious just by the type of work that's getting done, whether I'm going to need them or not. And then on top of the tools that are always in the van, like the power tools, I also have an EDC bag. And the EDC bag, just like the tools that are in the van, that EDC bag also has an inventory. I don't just throw more and more random tools into it. I don't randomly take tools out of it. I make sure it has all the tools for the day at the beginning of the day or at the end of yesterday. I take it with me. I take the tools out on the job. I utilize them. I put them back where they go. I keep that inventory full, and that EDC bag always has the exact same tools in it. So now, because I have a system, now I'm guaranteed to have, number one, all the power tools in the van, and number two, all of the hand tools in the EDC bag in the van. Now, number three, the van also has its own inventory, and to be clear, it's a very small inventory that stays inside the van. The only van inventory is the stuff that won't fit inside these kits, but that I do use frequently enough that I should really go ahead and keep it in there anyways. And then finally, I have kits in the van, kits just like this one. I have probably about 30 of them, I would guess, ballpark at this moment. It's in writing somewhere, but about 30 off the top of my head, kits that stay in the van. And this one, I don't know if you can read right here or not, if you can see that, but this is my door kit. So if you'll remember, we got a job that said something's wrong with the door. And we scheduled the job for something being wrong with the door. Hopefully, if we were smart, we got more information, so we're going into it with a better idea. But the good news is inside that handyman van is this door kit. And this door kit by itself, this is also a system. And what the system is everything that you need to do to an interior or exterior standard 3-hinge door. So we're not talking bifolds, we're not talking sliders, we're not talking bypass doors or any other kind of door. But for every standard interior or exterior 3-hinge slab door with a doorknob and a deadbolt or just a doorknob, all of those can be fixed just with what's in this kit. And this kit contains inventory for all the things that we're going to need, but it also contains the tooling. So we're not relying on the van to just kind of vaguely and generally have everything we need for everything. Instead, we're relying on the van to have a very specific set of power tools, an EDC bag with a very specific set of hand tools, and a very specific inventory. Those are going to be in the van, and then I'm going to know that everything else is in this kit. So when I get to this job, what I should be able to do is I should be able to grab this kit and my EDC bag and go inside, and whatever is wrong with that door, assuming I don't need to go buy a whole new slab and replace the entire slab, anything else that's wrong with that door, I should be able to fix just with this kit. And I'll tell you why that's important, is because most jobs that you guys are going out on, if you don't have kits and systems and inventories and all of that in place, most of the jobs you're going out on, you're having to go to Home Depot and come back for that job. And the value of that job did not go up because you failed to show up with all the proper tools and materials. The value of that job should have gone down because you didn't show up with all the proper tools and materials. So the purpose of this kit is to save that trip to Home Depot. And not only the trip to Home Depot, but this kit also, because it contains all of the tooling, also saves me from having to go back and forth to that van 8 different times looking for 8 different tools. Because even if it only takes 5 minutes every time you have to leave the house, walk out to the van, find the tool, and walk back, even if that's only 5 minutes, if you do that 3 times per job, that's 15 minutes per job times 4 jobs per day is an hour a day. Y'all have heard me say it a million times. An hour a day is $100 a day, is $500 a week, is $2,000 per month, is $24,000 per year that you lose by wasting all that time. So the kit is in fact a system, and I'll show you how it's a system. So first of all, inside this kit, by the way, you guys can download these for free. These are available in my documents as well. They're always a work in progress. Don't ever assume that you can or should download anything of mine and just copy and paste it directly into your business. But this inventory is available. This is an inventory that tells me every tool and every inventory piece of material that should be inside this kit. And this stays in the kit. And this, if you can see, here's a line that has my initials all the way down it. Here's another line right here. This kit is inventoried in and out and in and out and in and out because it's a system. And the system, on top of being a system for just simply having the tools and materials, it does it in there. It's also a system for the work to be done. So I'm going to give you an example right here. We have number 10 screws. We have number 10 short 1.5 inch screws and number 10 3.5 inch screws, and then right after that we have 2 more bins that have the number 9 screws. Why? Well, because interior doors typically are a number 9 screw and exterior doors are typically going to be a number 10 screw. And the short ones are to just basically to replace the normal short ones that would be on the door. The 3.5 inch ones are just in case we need a little extra bite and we need to get past that frame and into a stud in the wall because it's all stripped out. There are other ways to fix stripped out screws as well, and those are accommodated in this kit. I'm just letting you know there's a purpose to the screws. Here we have a hinge pin removal tool. I'm not going to show you the whole kit, don't worry. But what I'm trying to explain is this hinge pin removal tool. The reason I have this in here is because if you don't have this, then what you end up doing when you need to remove a hinge pin is you're typically going and looking for a screw or a drill bit or anything pointy, a Phillips screwdriver, and you're trying to knock it out that way. And eventually you're going to damage a door, and that's going to cost you time and money again. Or you're just going to waste a lot of time looking for something to knock that out with, as opposed to having a system in place, and the system says, hey, all the things you need, they're always here. Not only are they always here, they're always in the top drawer of this kit, they're always in this bin, it will always be there, and you don't have to think so much. You can just show up and start getting the job done. So let's say that we showed up to this job and what we found out was that the door's been, somebody attempted to kick it in and they damaged the actual frame of the door, so the strike plates and stuff are not in place. And the first thing we do is we say, okay, we take a look at it and we realize this strike plate right here, this oversized strike plate, which by the way you are rarely going to find available for purchase at Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware. Typically an oversized strike plate like this you're going to have to order online. But guess what? I have a system in place, and my system tells me that I need to have these. So I have one in inventory right here in this kit. I also have 3 more over there in inventory back here in the office to backfill the kit when I use it out of the kit, so that I'm never without this. But I can look at that frame and go, okay, if it's too damaged, I need to replace the whole frame. That's going to be an estimate and everything that's going to have to get approved. But otherwise, if this guy works, my system made sure that I showed up with a kit, with this piece, and with all the tooling that I need for it. In fact, my system even says, I grabbed this. This is a router with a very specific kind of bit that's going to allow me to mortise out on that frame the exact outline of where this is going to go, because if this is too thick, then it's going to prevent the door from being able to shut all the way. So I also have, as part of my system, a router that always has this bit in it. This can be used for multiple different types of jobs, mostly on doors, believe it or not, but I make sure that this is always available. This is inventoried into the van. So I have all of that. So let's say I go ahead and I put this on because my system made sure that I had it available to put on, but somebody mortised the door itself incorrectly before, and it doesn't have the standard spacing between the deadbolt and the doorknob. And the only way to fix that is going to be, I don't know why I keep throwing this thing back, the only way to fix that is going to be to alter this. Maybe they're too close together, right? So I now need to eat away some of this material here so that the latches can fully engage where they're supposed to. Well, what are my options for that? Option number 1, I guess, is going to be some sort of cutoff tool, like my grinder with a cutoff wheel. I probably, got one hanging up on the wall there. But that's going to require that I pull this thing back off, and it may or may not work very well, or I can use a hand file. There's a lot of options, but what I want to show you is this. Inside my kit here, I don't know how well you can see this, probably not too well, but what I have here is a rotary file. So I can stick this inside my drill, and this is a file with a conical bit on the tip, a conical tip, and what I'm going to be able to do, let me go ahead and pull this out and show you. See that? So what I'm going to be able to do, because I had a system, the system isn't figuring out that this is the answer. You'll figure out that this is the answer someday. The system is about building the kit, building the inventory, making sure that you have the system in place that tells you to bring this kit at all times and to make sure that this is in there at all times. Because with this, instead of going and searching through the handyman van hoping to find the one that I may or may not have, instead it's in my kit. I can take it, pop it into my drill right away. I can come and I can just etch this out wherever I need to etch this out at, and that job's done. And again, maybe that saved me 10 minutes as opposed to whatever the alternative is. But if you can save those 10 minutes 3 times a day, that's a half hour a day, that's 2.5 hours a week, etc., comes out to 12 grand a year. Saving yourself 10 minutes a day times 3, or 10 minutes per job times 3 jobs per day. That's 12 grand a year just by having this kit and this system in place. So I could go on, and I'm not going to. What I want you to understand is this is not about the kit. This is not about the efficiency. What this is this is a system that can be scaled. And now I'm going to tell you how it ends up being scaled. The first thing this does is it solves the goal that I told you in the beginning. We needed to solve 2 goals. The first one was to increase revenue, and this kit absolutely solves the problem of increasing revenue by making us much more efficient, and we've already gone over that in Pillar 3. But then the second part of this was that we needed, the revenue, that's the temporary solution. That's what prevents us from having the business go under and putting our families in danger because our back goes out for 2 weeks or we have some sort of temporary sickness, right? But number 2 is going to be, we need to set this business up as something that we can actually step away from, that's run by systems, so we can step away from it in a more permanent way if necessary, and our family is still going to be provided for. And we can, if we're still around, luckily, and healthy enough, we can just be steering the ship and raising our family rather than working our butts off 80 hours a week, week in and week out, year in and year out. So the second part was the scaling, and here's how the scaling comes in. I just took you through my system for how I use these kits as an owner-operator. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you how a kit like this allows you to scale your business. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start writing out the series of events that you need to look at when you work on a door, because the truth is, no matter what's wrong with the door, almost every time, regardless of the issue, you're going to go down the same process for every door. So for example, the first thing you're going to look at on a door is going to be the hinges. Every time you're going to want to look at those hinges first and make sure the hinges into the frame and into the door are as tight as possible, and you're going to want to fix that before you really look at anything else, because if you go tighten up that hinge after you adjust the rest of the door, as soon as you tighten up those hinges, well, now you got to come back and readjust. So the first thing you look at is the hinges. Second thing you look at is the weather stripping. You want to make sure that the weather stripping is there and in place and good to go first. Third thing you're going to look at is you're going to shut the door so that it latches. And of course you want to make sure that your strike plates are solid. But that's my point, is the third step is setting where the door latches. You want the door to be touching the weather stripping all the way around, right where that latch point happens. And then finally, after it's latched fully on the weather stripping, then you can adjust the deadbolt to make sure that the deadbolt opens and closes smoothly. There is a series of steps that you want to follow. So the next thing you're going to do, if you want to, let's say, have an employee who can follow this system, is write those steps down, and you want to be able to train that employee. You don't want to rely on just hiring a bunch of other handymen and hoping they know what they're doing. You want a reproducible product if you're going to call this a business. So you write down those series of steps and you train your employees and you say, hey, every time we work on a door, we're going to start here, go to here, and finish here, and do these tests when we're done. You write all that down. So follow me next. Here's the final long-term outlook for this business. You've got a shop set up somewhere, you've got a few vans, you've got a few employees. Here's the series of events. A job comes in. You have an admin person, you have an office manager who transfers that into job or assigns it out to whatever employees, prints up their little day sheet. So if it's Tuesday at the latter half of the day, you've got everybody scheduled for Wednesday, your office manager prints out their day sheets for Wednesday, puts them in a little file. Your employee comes in Wednesday morning, they go to their file, they pull out their day sheets, they look at it and they go, oh cool, looks like I'm working on a door today. And their day sheet tells them that. You're going to this address, you're working on this type of thing, and you're going to need these kits. And you go and you grab the kit. So it says, go grab this kit off of shelf B23. You go to B23, there's your door kit. You open up your door kit. Right inside your door kit is this beautiful inventory. And the first thing you do is you just go down your inventory and you go through the whole kit and you make sure everything is in the kit. If everything's not in the kit, it tells you right here on the inventory where those things are. And you can go over to where those things are inventoried, grab them, backfill the kit, sign off your inventory as having been inventoried. Here at the top, I have written down, by the way, this door kit applies to all repairs on all standard 3-hinge interior and exterior doors, so you know what it's for. Use with paint kit, doorknob kit, and van inventory, because the van inventory has a few things that don't fit into this kit, such as weather stripping and door sweeps. So you're going to use it with the paint kit, the doorknob kit, and the van inventory. And the van is getting inventoried frequently. Always bring new, like-kind doorknobs and deadbolts for all door jobs. So the next thing you're going to do, if the office manager did her job, she wrote down what type of doorknobs and deadbolts are on this job. They asked the tenants to send pictures, or they used a Zillow or whatever they did, and they said, oh, this one appears to have gold doorknobs and deadbolts, so we're going to go grab a gold doorknob and deadbolt, and we're going to bring it along with us for this job. New door installs require new door from shop or purchased en route to job. So if, you shouldn't have to say it, but if this is a door replacement job, this is letting the person know, hey, by the way, you need to grab a new door from the shop or from Home Depot before you head off to the job. And new door installs require preset latch mortise router and preset hinge mortise router. So what that's talking about is this. However, I've since designated this for multiple jobs, so we don't have a preset, and I need to update this form, but that's what this is for. This is to be updated and adapted and changed over time as you refine your processes. And then right here, I know you can't really read all of this, but this is a bunch of notes that I make. Whenever I use this kit, I make notes on this inventory telling me what changes I'd like to make to this kit in the future, because I'm always trying to improve it. So your employee, they come and grab the kit, they inventory the kit. The kit also tells them to grab other things off the shelf before they go, and now we know when they leave the shop, we know for a fact they have everything they could possibly need for this job, or they have instructions if it needs a whole new door slab to stop at Home Depot and get a whole new door slab for this job as well. So they're on the way to the job, they have everything they need. By the way, there's a system inside the car for them to write down their mileage and stuff on to remind them to always track that. And then they get to the job, and the system is, when you get to the job, you grab the kit and you grab your EDC bag and you have your little tool vest on with whatever tiny little tools you carry on your vest, and you go and you do the job. And when you're done with the job, you make sure to mark on the inventory anything that you used up in the kit. You load everything back up, you clean everything up, you come back to the shop, you take your kit, you inventory it back in, you put it back on the shelf where it goes, and you follow these instructions. But what I'm trying to point out to you is this entire story I just told you about this hypothetical door job that came in was none of it required me. None of it required the owner of the business. All of these things can be done via systems with employees. And yes, you do have to generate the systems first. That's going to be your job. So you have to make everything efficient first, and then you have to make everything systematized second. But once you've got your efficiencies worked out and then you've built your systems, then you can just plug and play employees directly into these roles. And I'm making it sound way simpler than it is. This is not something that I have successfully pulled off yet. Other than my son, who isn't working for the business anymore, I haven't hired a full-time employee and set them loose with these kits. That's actually what I was testing when I had my son using these kits, and I will be hiring an employee at some point in the near future to have them continue testing the kits while I continue building new kits. But the long-term result is going to be that I'm going to be able to step away from this business or sell it. I don't really want to sell it though. I think I want to still own it. I still think I want to be the guy steering the ship. I just don't want to be required for all the things that are required on a daily basis to keep it running smoothly. So I really hope this helped out, guys. I hope I didn't mess this video up. I could have done it a lot of different ways, but what I really wanted to do was give you real-world examples of what these systems are and how I built and designed mine, because yours don't need to match mine. Your business doesn't need to be my business, but I'm hoping that by showing you what I've done and how I've come to where I'm at, that you might be able to take that example and apply it to your unique scenario and build your own systems for your own business so that someday you can plug and play employees and office personnel into these positions and be able to step away from your business and focus on raising your family instead of working 80 hours a week with tools in your hand in the blistering heat. So guys, if y'all have any questions, I want you to email me at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com. I answer all emails. I set aside more than an hour a day, every single day, just to answer your emails. So email me at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com or comment on this video, and I reply to all the comments on all the videos as well. But otherwise, I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I will see y'all on pillar number 9 tomorrow.